Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Babbling match review. I don't really know how to start this, Mike. Should we just talk about the Youth Cup game instead? I feel like that's probably a better place to start. But no, we got to face the reality. We lost 5-1. We are in big trouble. And yeah, I don't think I've ever felt as deflated as I have right now. Just how are you feeling after last night?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like I was going to the game, and then about a couple of hours beforehand, I just completely just dipped, and then just did nothing. Didn't go out. Didn't get. I ended up watching the game at home. Just had no. When you just kind of have that feeling that it's going to be really bad, and it just kind of came over me for the game, and then so you know what, everything's a bit crappy outside. I'm going to, for the first time in a long time, be a fair weather fan and just sit at home and watch it. And I've never been so thankful that I actually didn't go to a game. It just felt like the biggest waste of time for anyone who went to that game. It was beyond embarrassing, insipid, and fair play to the fans. They tried to get the team going, but you can't go. You can't keep asking the fans to give and give and give when that's what you're given. It was
we're going to get onto what Moyes said after the game because I am absolutely ready to tear into him for what he said. But
to be fair, there is something else he said at the end of that, which hasn't been put into the video.
Yeah, so I did see that part as well. Where
slightly different.
Yeah, but it's still just the whole post match is just the same shit, and I can't be arsed with it. But the first half, the fans were absolutely behind that team yesterday. That was the best atmosphere that has been all season by far. And even when we were 2-0 down, we were still generating an atmosphere and trying to get them to do something because we'd shown that initial promise. And I think that's what we are missing in every single game is that approach. And we were so just blown away from the very first minute where, Boehm did that absolutely outstanding run down the line, cut it back in, and we hit the post, really unlucky not to go ahead after 1 minute. That just set the tone for the fans because we are so not used to seeing that. We are so used to just being a compact team, not having possession and trying and play in those moments and those counter-attacks, which we just can't do anymore. So it was a nice change to start off with. And then, after the first 3 or 4 minutes, we were putting on pressure, do something stupid from our own corner, which was just ridiculous. They then go up the other end. We give away a stupid corner again with Kehrer, just putting it out of play. And then the follow-up sequence was what happened, and Wilson was just absolutely free. Again, we're not going to go through the tactical breakdown in this video. That's not what we're going to do because I don't think anyone wants to see that. I think we've all seen the absolute travesty of the goals that we conceded yesterday. And this is just it's more of a therapy session for me and Mike and anyone in the chat, to be honest. But what did you make of that first goal? Because I was the other side, and I just knew from the start that we'd had that something like that was going to happen, and we were just going to switch off and concede from how we'd started.
Yeah, it's like I can partially understand why Kehrer headed it out. He doesn't know what's behind him. He's not aware. There's not really any communication going on. And he's gone, well, I'm better off being safe than heading it out into kind of nowhere. And he's taken the safe option. I know some people didn't blame him for that goal. It's like, well, no, because there's a whole other sequence that comes after that. He made a mistake. His team then could have bailed him out. His team then decided to just not pay attention. How Callum Wilson was allowed that much room when there are about 4 or 5 players around him, not one of them takes any responsibility. Yeah. That's what kind of was annoying me the most. It's the lack of responsibility that players are taking in any game.
Yeah.
And it just epitomized it. We didn't really press that max moment. I can kind of understand his point is that he's very quick, tricky. You go in too quickly, he can put you on your ass, or he might go down under a foul. But again, you just allowed him space, and then no one on Callum Wilson, and he just kind of look and go, "Are you kidding me?" And yet again, I know people love Fabianski, but would it kill him to ever dive? So many goals I've seen this season, he's standing there looking at the ball go into the back of the net, like just fling yourself to the floor. Even if you're not going to get to it, just at least look like you're trying. The amount of times I've seen you just stand there and watch it.
I think the biggest thing for me in that goal was just the complete and lack of just desire to go and get out to St. Maximin, like you said, how easily he beat Ben Rama, and then just static defending in our box. It's like both Zuma and Aged in that situation were just like, oh, okay, I can stay here. I'm pretty comfortable. We're in our little balance.
Rice was right by it.
And Rice as well, yeah. And I think Zuma was the one that was it was arguably his man, because Wilson kind of peeled off of him as well and got into that pocket of space, and he just kind of stands there. Like, you can't do that. And how are you going to give that striker that much space for such a free header? Oh, it's really annoyed me, because we'd started so well, and we started on the front foot. We were pressing high, but again, they just played through that press so easily in the build up to that first goal. And that was a highlight throughout the whole game. We just do not know how to press. We don't know how to coordinate anything. And we've said it time and time again. We can't. We're just individuals. And when you have the setup that we do, it's impossible. It's absolutely impossible that we can match someone like Newcastle, who know how to move the ball around. You look at West Ham and what we try to do when we're trying to create opportunities when we do have the ball. We will get it out wide. We will, build up in the middle third pretty well, actually. We do that quite well. Then we get to the final third. We get it to those wide areas, and it's kind of just, okay, let's try and get it into the box and hope someone's there. That is literally our plan. Just cross it in and hope someone's there. When we lose the ball in them situations, we have no setup around the box for those second balls, if in case something breaks out, so we can sustain pressure. So it's so easy for teams to just break through that line, and we saw it. We saw it yesterday against Newcastle. How many times did that happen? And compare that to what Newcastle do when they're in their positions, when they have the ball. They'll play really nice football in the middle of the park, just like we can do sometimes. But in the final third, they actually have a system, a way of breaking through and breaking down a team and playing that killer pass. And we don't know how to do it. And then, E20, evening, mate. And yes, we are pony, as we've all established now. We are very pony.
And we are not just now. A few of us were establishing that way early in the season, saying that Moyes had to go, when others were going, no, persist. The guy will turn it around. Mate, that guy's turning around an ocean liner in the Suez Canal. That's what he's basically doing. And we all saw what happened there when someone tried to do that. So let's be honest. The guy is incompetent. You can't legislate for the problems and the errors of that game. Those errors are not on him. There are other elements that are wholly and solely on him, such as the 11 he always puts on the pitch, the tactics we set up in, and the sheer lack of cohesion or real harmony in that team.
Mike, he's done. He's done. We've been kind of balancing some arguments throughout our videos over the past few weeks, months. No, he's done. There's no way. He is absolutely finished at this club. He's losing the respect of the fans. Every week he opens his mouth in those press conferences after the game. And, oh, man, I can't even... we literally conceded that goal within 6 minutes. And then, again, 6-7 minutes later, we found ourselves 2-0 down with, once again, one pass from their centre-back straight through the line of our midfield and our defence, and he's just through. And then Fabianski sort of labelly comes out, easily walks around him, 2-0. Knew it was onside as soon as it happened. It was pretty tight, but from where I was, it didn't look offside at all. We'd switched off. There was no press. We were kind of just stuck in that zone of just watching what Newcastle were about to do. Again, being reactionary. And found ourselves 2-0 down at that point. Even the fans at that point, we were still behind the team because we were trying everything and they just weren't giving back. And we were just so open. And I just could not believe what I was watching when we'd gone at that stage 2-0 down.
Mate, it's porous. We have players walking around the pitch half the time. The players are not playing for Moyes. No. It's clear as day. What they say and what is one thing, what they do is another thing. And they are saying they're behind the manager, they enjoy playing for the manager. Then why are you not running through brick walls at the moment? You see teams who, when they say they enjoy the manager, you see them chase everything. They are on everything. They may not win games because sometimes it's just technically they're not good enough, but they run as hard as they can for the manager. Yesterday they didn't. Like yesterday's result is, yeah, as you say, Mark, the players are more at fault. But to be perfectly honest, yeah, they are at fault. But those faults, those complacencies, those errors come through also a lack of leadership, a lack of composure, a lack of understanding of what to do and when to do it, and a lack of direction. Who is the person who's meant to instill that all in them? Can't all be on a young kid in Declan Rice on the pitch to do that. It has to come from the sidelines as well. And as much as people will say it's on the players, and yesterday, 100%, those goals were on the players. I do not dispute that. But the truth of the matter is, the manager is also telling those players, don't worry, lads. Same again next week. You can play as shit as you like. You can have 29 passes in 3 games. Souček. Now, I like Souček as the player he's been for us, and I think he can be a useful tool. At the moment, he just looks like a tool. He is beyond useless at the moment. He rarely winning a tackle, not as comprehensive as he has been aerially. He has little to no involvement in possession, and that means we basically have 2 players with little to no involvement in possession, because as much as Bowen does do some good, very rarely involved in possession. He very rarely makes 20 to 25 passes in a game.
Yeah, he's a final third player, isn't he?
He is. And that's the point. You can't have 2 players on that right-hand side who are not involved at all. Exactly. But when they do get involved, their passing accuracy is pretty low. You know, I felt for Kehrer a bit because he was left a bit exposed against St. Maximin. Didn't always help himself as well. And also we bring on Soufal. Soufal has a bit more energy, a bit more impetus to kind of to get in there, and also a bit more natural in being that aggressor as a fullback.
He should never have started Kehrer. We said it in the preview. Should never have started him in the first place.
Should have played. I said to you, might play Kehrer because he might think we can go to a back 3 in possession, which is kind of what we seem to try to do, but we were freaking awful because we don't have movement in midfield.
We don't have anything.
And you know, he then makes. You look at his lineup. I mean, obviously, again, you got Souček, and I hate having pops at players because it just feels pointless in some ways. And Souček even is becoming almost a figure of hate for fans because of he's constantly picked. It's not his fault that he's in the lineup. Yeah, it's his fault in terms of how bad he's playing. But again, if he's having so little involvement, that's also a tactical thing. That is, he's clearly been told to go in positions and to be in positions where he's not as involved. Now, there is an element of him actually hiding in games, in my opinion, and deliberately putting himself in positions where he can't be passed to. Some may argue, well, he's probably a tactical thing in which to set himself up to receive maybe not the first, second pass, but it's actually to get onto the third pass, which is in some cases that is legitimate for certain teams. Brighton are a prime example of doing that. They have players who have little involvement in build-up initially because they're actually there to essentially take the third, fourth pass. You know, sometimes the second pass in the sequence. It all depends on.
Yeah, that ain't what Souček is. Souček is literally, you watch him play, he will, as you say, he won't be involved in that midfield play. It will be Rice and Paqueta trying to do those passes. You'll see Souček kind of drift into the space, almost play as a second striker. I mean, like yesterday in the first half especially, kept making runs as a striker. He was trying to run between the centre-backs, and Rice was then driving into the space like, well, I ain't going to pass to you. Well, what's the point? What are you doing? What are you actually contributing to this move? It's just like, he's going to try and drift between the defence and the midfield and try and get in the box for crosses. We've made the most crosses in the Premier League out of any team this season. Yeah. And how successful has our crossing been? Awful. Absolutely awful. Because that's our tactic. That is what he's told him to do. We try and build up through the middle. We get it to wide areas because we don't have anyone in midfield that can unlock players. Someone like a Fornals. And then we're just resorting to crossing because we have no other option other than to do that, because you've got Souček in the box as one of your midfielders. So it's just, okay, we're going to have to cross to you. And then you've got Rice sitting, and then Paqueta trying to do something all on his own. And then also the defensive responsibility as well, if when we inevitably lose the ball. So it just makes no sense anymore. There's no cohesion.
It hasn't made any sense for a long time, mate.
It hasn't made sense since November. Yeah, we said it. We said it before the World Cup that he should have gone, and that was definitely the time to do it. And we've had, again, moments where we probably could have done it this season. January, another time we could have done it, even in the most recent break. But it's always been that one result that's kept him going. It's always been that one win against the Bournemouth or Forest.
The fact of the matter is, what's kept him going is the fact they don't want to pay compensation. They want him to limp to the end of the season.
Well, apparently it would only cost them like $2.5 million or something to get rid of him.
Look, it's all bollocks, right? If they wanted him gone, he'd be gone. For £2 million, £3 million, it's nothing in the Premier League, especially when you put it against that.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, they don't want to look for another manager. They do not want to sack David Moyes. They want David Moyes to see out the end of the season. That is it. And then they'll make their choice. Now, I know people will keep saying, there's no intention for them to sell. They don't want to sell. They don't want to sell. Again, what people say outwardly and what their actual thought process is two separate things. I'm pretty sure Kretinsky is not agreeing a price on West Ham Football Club, which I think either expires this summer or next summer, to then let that elapse. No. If he's making a price on the club, and a price in which he can buy shares, he intends to, at some point, enact that. Now, if he, as we're meant to believe, be the one that wants to get Moyes out, and he wants to have a bit more of a say, then he's going to then look to exercise his right to buy additional shares. Now, whether they try and make it more difficult and go, well, we don't want to sell, is another matter. But I am sure there's probably stuff within that contract that says if they refuse to sell, he gets money back, or he essentially can probably sell his shares back to them. And I'm pretty sure they haven't got that money to give back to him. So I'm pretty sure they're in a rock and a hard place if Kretinsky turns around and goes, fine, I'm pulling out my money. So The truth of the matter is, I don't agree when anyone says they're not going to sell. I 100% believe that they're going to sell. Yeah. And this action is clearly that. We don't want to deal with the mess now. We don't want to pay it now. We'd rather wait until the summer for someone else to clean this up and someone else to do it.
Yeah.
And there will always be an excuse. We said it.
They're gambling. They're gambling at this point, because you look at our fixtures coming up now. We are in serious trouble. And everyone was saying, we've got the games in hand. Look at the table now. We have one game in hand around people around us, and it's Man City. That is the game in hand. So, again, it's I mean, as Zanussi's saying here, we've already crossed well from open play at all. Benrahma likes to play it slightly out, across outside the box. Emerson cuts inside. Kufal can't cross, full stop, and Bowen's instinct to shoot. And that's exactly right. We do get into those areas out wide, and our crossing has been so much worse this season. And also, just we don't have a plan. I mean, if you go to a West Ham game, what is the plan other than to kind of be compact, sit in, and try and get something on the counter? How can you say the players are at fault?
We did say it is their fault, but we also did say that they don't want to play for Moyes. So say it is their fault. If they don't want to play, that is their fault. That if they are lacking application and do not actually go out and try, that is their fault. But caveat that it's because they don't want to play for the manager. I'm convinced they do not want to play for the manager. And I said this last week, and I stand by what I said last week. And we had a heated debate, and I was told no. But right. At this point, if the players do not want to play for Moyes, the board are not listening, they need to do what happened with Alan Kirbishley and what Anton even said, and even what happened under Avram Grant. Players need to start taking responsibility and saying, fuck his tactics. We're going to do our own thing. We are going to take charge of this game, and we're going to do what we feel we need to do. They need to work. If they really want Moyes out, or they don't trust him and they don't think his tactics are working, they need to work on their own things on the training ground without the staff. Or they go to one or two staff members and they say, I want to work on some things. We want to work on some situations. We want to work for you. And then just turn around to Moyes and go fuck yourself. You either pick us or you don't. If you don't pick us, fine. But then you're fucked, because who are you going to pick? Because quite frankly, if you so you're not going to pick Rice, like shit that like hell that's not going to happen. You ain't going to not pick Paqueta. So what was he going to do? Is he going to turn around if Souček bans and he goes, "Oh, I'm not playing you, Souček." But then he's going to go, "Oh no, but then I've got to play Lanzini or Fornals. I don't really like them at the moment because they both criticise me. One's saying that don't let someone take your smile. The other one's putting up stats about how good he is at passing.
Yeah.
I don't like that." What's he going to do? Is he going to drop him? Fuck no. He ain't going to drop him. He's shown he's only got the bollocks for players that he feels like he can actually bully. And those players happen to be Fornals, Lanzini, Benrahma. And obviously there's been some youth. But he's a fucking bully. He's tactically inept. Last year he did well. Last year he got things right. But also those players were winning. And when you win, players will also take a lot of crap from a manager. And they will also, and we also found a way in those games. Now it's not going. He is sniping at everyone. His man management has gone off a it's gone off a cliff and his nosedive. Because quite frankly, now he's losing his under pressure. He doesn't like it. Let's not forget what happened with Sunderland. The only person who had a pair of bollocks to actually ask him some brave and actual forthright and outright questions was a woman in press. He's in the big boys club or in the boys club, and none of them ask him difficult questions, such as, why are you playing Souček when he's making only 20, not even 20 passes in a game? You brought him off 2 games in a row, and you've played 2 games in a row where he's had less than 10 passes or 10 completed passes. How is that acceptable? You brought him off 2 times now in 60 minutes. Why, if he plays against Fulham, the answer should be, why are you playing him when you brought him off in past 2 games because he's been poor?
Yeah, I actually said this yesterday. I actually said this yesterday after the game. I said how different the English media is compared to, say, the Spanish league. Like, they will ask tough questions to managers and they will ask tactical questions. You don't really get that in England. It's more like, oh, is he fit? Oh, how did you think it went? Oh, what's the plan for next week? How are you feeling? Or any injuries? There's never any actual argumentative questions to ask them.
Well,
like,
isn't
it's
that
never
journalism, right? To be a bit like ruffling feathers, to ask the difficult question.
But they know, because someone like Moyes, for example, would take that so badly and he would just get pissed off and he'd be like, well, I'm not answering that. What a stupid question, blah, blah, blah. Don't let him back in.
Like he turned around with I can't, her name's escaped me, but after that, he had a little laugh and in jest went, "Oh, you're getting a wee bit naughty there with those questions at the end. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean you won't get a slap." Like, so basically, he's saying, and then he goes, "And be more careful next time." In other words, saying, don't ask me those questions, because I come here for an easy ride. I don't come here to be questioned by the likes of you. Basically, pretty much going, "Oi, pleb, you are not at my level. How dare you question me?" Everything that's going on now happened at Sunderland. And not being funny, I said way back in November, if not even earlier, this season looks like it was under that time for him with Sunderland. We are playing like Sunderland. He is acting exactly the same way as he did to Sunderland fans, to Sunderland players, as he is now. E20's been on before and we've discussed it. I've gone on his channel and we've said this is worse than the Avram Grant season, or at least it feels like it's worse than the Avram Grant season because of how much of a nosedive we've had and how poor it's been. Not being funny, but if this was not a British manager and this was not David Moyes, I am convinced they would have sacked him by now. But because he's British and because it's David Moyes, and probably out of some outdated notion that we should be loyal to him because that's what David Gold would have wanted, they're willing to gamble on our future and they're willing to not listen to their customers, because quite frankly, we're customers. In no other industry would you outright not listen. Now, as fans, if we are as opposed to David Moyes as we can, then before a game, we need to be David Moyes out. As soon as the whistle kicks off, we are bang behind that team. Half time, David Moyes out. As soon as the second half kicks off, bang behind that team. As soon as the game finishes, David Moyes out. If the fans really want him out, then you have to voice it.
Yeah.
Don't do it in the game, because people will criticize, say, "Well, the fans are a disgrace and all that." But the truth of the matter is, you make it very, very clear to that board, he is not welcome.
Yeah, I think they're fully aware of it, to be honest, Mike. I think this has been going on for so long now, since whenever we said it in November. So this has been going on for so long. They're gonna just have those blinkers on and hope that because we've got European football and we're still in a quarterfinal of that. They're just hoping that we can try and get something.
I don't normally go for the name calling, but it's right. Sullivan is the problem. E20 said it a number of times on his channel. You know, we blame Moyes, as we rightly should, but he's not that outright now. He is not the outright problem. Reason why we're in this situation. The problem is the board's inability to act is now why we're in this situation. Rightly or wrongly, whether you're pro in or you're out of Moyes, rightly or wrongly, he should have been removed in December.
Yeah.
I understand why people wanted him to stay. I understand why people wanted to go. But the truth is, like what Villa did, rightly or wrongly, they got rid of Gerrard because they saw a pattern that was happening and acted.
As soon as you give a manager 3 games to save themselves, like you've already made that subconscious decision in the back of your head that he's not good enough, and you're never ever gonna get a manager that turns it around miraculously in that situation and becomes a world beater. It just doesn't happen. Moyes done really well with us, with the squad we had. He kept us up. Fair play. Thank you very much for that. You gave us 2 excellent seasons, getting top 6 and top 7 finishes. We had players like Lingard who were absolutely brilliant for you and worked in that system. We could play that way that you wanted to play, and it worked because we had pace. We had players that would work for him. Now we try to adjust because we're having to push. He mentioned it in the summer himself. We now have to adjust and become more of a top 6 team. And I forgot what I was saying. That's put me off. Moyes has been given more. It kind of alludes to the same point. Moyes has been given enough time this season to turn it around. He spent nearly 200 million in the summer. Everyone was behind him in the summer. Everyone said, okay, here you go. You've got the money to invest it. What does he do? He breaks the transfer record on a player he doesn't even know how he plays. He said he's a number 10. Paqueta. We've said it when he first signed, he's not a number 10. So how are you going to spend your money on that and not understand the profile of player you're signing? He wanted Brozier initially, then he couldn't get him, so he went for Skamaka. They're not the same player. They're completely different. They're different profiles. So what is the plan? That's the whole point. It should be a plan. There was no strategy involved. So he hasn't been able to adapt with the players. Yes, we've had injuries, but the overall philosophy should have changed by now. The overall system should have changed by now. There shouldn't be this many gaps in April. We shouldn't be where we are in April. So he's got to go. There's no coming back from this. And just to sum up the game, we lost 5-1 after that. Don't want to get into the goals. It's done. But bottom line is we're in trouble, and we're now on the same points, still on the same points as 18th Bournemouth, I think it is. And we have 10 games left now, and all of those home games we've got left, other than Leeds, I think, are against. We've got Arsenal coming up, then we've got Liverpool, then United, and then Leeds as our last 4 home games. Or maybe there's one more home game I'm missing, but we've won 1 away game this season, just to fill everyone with confidence. So people saying, we've still got to play Bournemouth, we've still got to play Palace. Mate, we've won 1 away game this season. We're not going to win them games in my mind. I'm not confident going into that game against Fulham on Saturday at all now. So, I mean, I just can't. I mean, even Cliff saying how many shots on target from open play. I said it in January, I think. When was the last time we actually broke a team down and scored a legitimate goal that wasn't, say, a set piece or just a moment like that, or a moment of magic from someone like Skamaka or Benrahma? When was the last time we did that? Because I cannot remember, for the life of me, a time we've done that to a team. Please, someone tell me if there is a time, because I can't remember one. And I don't know, over to you, Mike. I'm sick of this fucking club.
I think that sums up some part of it as well. And it's the arrogance behind it, is that whenever we see any post-match conversation, it's fans need to give me more. The fans need to give more. Do you not remember what I did 2 years ago? Oh, by the way, the expectations that I was setting, saying we should be a big club. I want a big club mentality. I want us to be at the top of the league. Oh, by the way, those expectations are totally unrealistic. Any of you fans thinking that we can sustain that is unrealistic. So he's essentially saying that although I told you that this is what we should be, it's not sustainable. Not under me, at least. It's not sustainable under me as David Moyes, because I'm doing shit now. Because I'm doing badly, I'm going to reset your expectations. I'm going to say, oh, all that stuff I said before, well, I didn't mean it because I can't sustain it. These players can't sustain it. I even saw a tweet earlier saying we should go back to the old guard for the game against Fulham because all the new boys that have come in and have killed it. Hang on, the new boys have killed it. So let's name the new boys that are actually in the starting lineup. So we have Aged, Emerson, Paqueta. Obviously, we played Danny Ings. That's it. Yep. So 3 players have come into our first team and killed it, apparently.
Yeah, and Kara,
and the old guard are going to save us. So Aaron Crespo is going to come in and go on a lung-busting 60-yard pass, not taking it past 5 players, 20 little nutmegs in that process, and you're going to smash it in the top corner. Like the old guard, also the old guard. So what they're talking about, Lanzini and Fornals, what the 2 players who can't even get a minute. Antonio can't hit a barn door all season. He's got 3 goals.
Where do we go? Where do we go from here, Mike? Because because I don't get how you can watch that game last night and not get rid of him and say, I know it's come out this morning as well from X saying that he's, even the board themselves are now basically saying that they don't have the confidence in Moyes anymore, and you can kind of tell they're just hoping for a result on Saturday. And I think Sky Sports said it was a must not lose. So I guess if we draw, he's safe. Is that how it works? Like what is the criteria we're now going off of sacking him? Like what level does it get to?
I can't say I disagree. The truth of the matter is, like, if you don't have confidence in a manager, replace the manager. This is within any kind of business. The fact of the matter is, if you don't have confidence in that manager, every position is worth, X number of millions or £100,000. So he's going to cost you that much money. If you get relegated, he's going to cost you over 100 million quid. And you're going to go, well, yeah, we wasn't confident in him in the end. We did start to lose faith, but we hoped we'd get there. Well, that's incompetence and negligence. In fact, that's even worse than lazy. That's not even laziness. That is negligence and incompetence, because you just basically said, yeah, it was a problem, but we just hoped it would go away and we'd just get there, but we didn't. So, yeah, sorry,
Do you see
guys.
every game like this now, Mike, as a cup final now?
How can it not be anything other than that?
10 cup finals.
2 games against Ghent, and Moyes is now saying, "Oh well, I'll sacrifice. I'd happily sacrifice Europa Conference for that." It's like, right. So this is where we are now. Yeah. In that we are in a legitimate competition that we could actually win, and your response is, "I'm so worried that I can't get this team to stay up in the Premier League, that I'm going to sacrifice this competition so I play less games because I can't get this team playing." The fact of the matter is that he's saying that is probably also coming from the board, in that to us, the most important thing is the Premier League. So if you stay in the competition, great. If you go out, we're not going to be happy. We're also not going to be happy. It's probably in a bit of a rock and a hard place in some respects, because they're probably saying we don't want to go out of the competition, but also we don't want the competition to impact on the Premier League.
Yeah.
So in some ways it's, well, I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. But the fact of the matter is, if they've not been confident, which apparently they've not been since January, why have you persisted? Now, the only reason to persist is because, as it was saying before, cost 400 grand. They save 400 grand every month that he's still in the club, getting through into his last season. There's probably also a clause in there that says if we finish at X in the league, your compo is actually this. So they probably want to get to the end of the season, because if we finish about 16th, 17th, they go, well, due to your contract, you're actually only entitled to, say, $1 million as a payoff, as opposed to, say, £3-4 million. It's the truth of the matter. If he's not liked by the players, if the rumours are true that the players have gone to the board and have expressed a desire to change things or want to change things, and the board are not listening, and they're not listening to fans, and they are ignoring the results, because they probably will chalk up, yes, again, well, we expected to lose anyway.
Yeah.
Then it is just purely negligence.
I think as well. Like the argument now of the Europa Conference League might impact our Premier League season. I think this kind of comment sums up why it wouldn't, because the Premier League team will still have players like Souček playing. We'll still have players like Fabianski in goal. We'll still have players that aren't performing, and then it'll be the Europa Conference League to play players like Cornet that should be getting a look in, like Kufal, like Areola, like so many other players, Fornals, Lanzini. This isn't about that anymore. There's been no. When was the last time we played in Europe other than the last two legs? Like we played 2 European games since what, November?
There has to be repercussions for bad performances.
Yeah,
and there isn't. So Fabianski should not play the next game.
No.
He made a massive error in. He sold his teammate short in a Ged. Ged should have done better, but he sold him short. He gave him a pass when he should have never have given him that ball. Sold him short and done him. And then the trying to be sweeper keeper and just doing what he did as a sweeper keeper was plain laughable, to be honest. Like that.
No, Mike, I walked out of the stadium as soon as that happened. Don't worry.
Hey, I don't blame you. And even the first guy, as I say, it doesn't even seem to make an attempt. Like, I'm sorry, but you know he's going to try and head at that. You should be able to throw yourself for a ball. You know? And yeah, the circus is back. The ringmaster is David Sullivan. The gimp on the tricycle is Moyes. Like, it's just so frustrating in that Souček has been pulled off now 2 games in a row for being really bad, and in about 60th minute has come off.
Yeah.
Will he play the next game? Most bloody likely.
Yeah.
Will Fabianski likely play? Yes.
You know what confirmed to me? You know what confirmed to me that Moyes hasn't got an absolute clue what to do when we're behind in a game is when
done like again and didn't actually change any kind of
format. And I saw we were making 4 subs. I was like, okay, what the hell? What is Moyes cooking up here? Then he takes Antonio off for Ings when he plays and keeps the system the same. He puts Downs on for Souček instead of Fornals or Lanzini. Brings on Kufal for Kera when it's already too late. And brings on Cornet for Benrahma again. When that's probably the only acceptable change out of those 4 that I could see, like from the context. So it's just, oh my god, it's just absolutely mental that he's still. How many times we said it?
He is bemoaned for about 2 years. I have 1 striker.
Yeah,
for at least 18 months. I have 1 striker. Well, one you signed off selling a layer, mate. So get fucked on that one. You signed that off. So that's been about 2.5 years. You then go get Danny Ings, say he's as good as he gets, don't even fucking play him, don't even know how to use him. Turn around and say he's a penalty box player and you don't know how to get near to him. You say we need to get players closer to him. Jesus Christ, we said that the moment we signed him. How has he only just figured that out? Danny Ings hasn't been a mystery. He's a 29, 30-year-old striker. He's been around for God knows how many years in the Premier League. Scamacca doesn't know how to use. And even when he's had three on the bench, we're losing a game. Does he go for 2 up top? No. So he spent 2 years bemoaning, I don't have any striking options. I don't have anyone to bring on to put an extra striker up top. He has it. At least under Pellegrini, when we were absolutely awful, we were losing a game, he'd empty the bench. He'd have Lucas Perez up front. He'd have Chicharito up front. He'd have Andy Carroll up front. He'd have anyone who could kick a ball in the back of the net was on the sodding pitch. And it made us lopsided and things would play for us. But also, he got us back in some games because he had made some ballsy decisions.
Yeah.
And as much as people like to have a pop at Pellegrini for how bad he was, Moyes is worse.
This season,
It's just beyond appalling. And it's the rhetoric of, I don't have this, I don't have that. This isn't my fault, basically. That isn't my fault. Players need to do more of this. The fans need to give me more of that. You know,
that's the thing. Mike, there will always be another thing or another excuse for why something's happening. It was, like you mentioned before, we only had 1 striker. Okay, we've now got Scamacca, Ings, Antonio. Before that, it was
scoring goals for fun at youth level.
Yeah, exactly. And then before, last season, we've run out of steam. Our squad just didn't have it. Okay, well, now we've got pretty much 2 squads to play to rotate.
We chose not to go out and sign anyone in the January window.
Yeah, exactly.
Apart from the 2. We had put in 2 50 million pound bids for 2 players at Leeds who were in relegation battle. Yeah, they're going to sell us their 2 biggest players in the relegation battle. Oh, no, we then went to put 60 million pounds in for Darwin Nunez. With a whole freaking window, you could have gone and got Terem Moffi in that point. That point, you could have got Terem Moffi.
Yeah.
And you would have had your Antonio replacement you would have had an exact like for like, and you likely would have gone on to possibly won something.
Yeah.
But it is always an excuse. And the fact is, there's always excuses at the top, there's always excuses at the level below. And even on the pitch, sometimes we even see excuses because we see then in the post-match players go, for how long this season did they go with the rhetoric of we've been unlucky? Only in recent weeks have they actually now started going, we've just not been good enough.
Yeah.
It's not acceptable. We need to do more. But before I said, we've been unlucky. Really? So no, you haven't been unlucky. You've been unlucky in one game. That was Chelsea because you were actually screwed by VAR.
Yeah. As soon as Moyes started talking about the fans, he's done, because there's no other thing to say. Like, he can blame the fans or say that we need to support through the bad times or whatever the stupid quote was yesterday. Again, it was probably taken out of context because he did say, I wouldn't blame the fans for leaving when they did. Yeah. But and he did kind of say that in the first half, the fans were right behind us. They were very good. But what was the little dig for? What was the little comment in between all of that saying, even, sometimes in the bad moments, that's when a true supporter or something, or like a proper supporter steps up. Right, we have been there the whole season. We've been there the whole season. Every away game sold out. Every European game, we're traveling over Europe to go and watch them. In the tin pot rounds, when we had already qualified, we still fucking went there. And now we've given that first 45 minutes absolutely everything for that team. Absolutely everything. Ready to go for the second half. They make an individual error. And then we go on for the rest of the game, the second half, absolutely no idea or clue or how to get back into it. And we had 2 shots on target the whole game. Yeah, and one of them was that corner.
No. And it's, granted, you know what? This hasn't been the best season for us at home as a home support. The away support has been phenomenal. Our home support, it hasn't been great. Obviously, I've got a season ticket. It hasn't been great this year, especially in comparison to how it was last year. But also the football was better last year. So there is,
like, I'll say it again though. The thing is, like,
it's give and take. It's a give and take.
Yeah, no. The fans are turning up though. Like, we are pretty much selling that stadium out, regardless of who it is at home. And the players have to set the tempo for the fans, because when we go there, we now know exactly what's going to happen. It's so hard to create an atmosphere watching that. It is absolutely so difficult.
Nothing to get excited about, is there? It's not like
exactly the point.
You turn around and go, oh, one of the youth lads is playing. That gets a little buzz. It's like, well, that's so different. Let's get behind the kid. And if the kid goes flying into a tackle, everyone cheers because the youngster's done something.
Yeah.
But that happened in like last season. Dan Chester's came on. He had a bit of a slight heavy touch, and he went flying into a tackle and won it. Yeah. It was a heavy tackle, and he got a huge cheer. And it's those little things. It's like Moyes just doesn't have it just doesn't seem to register. But he doesn't care what we think. This is, if I go right back to what Noble said before, when there was that big protest, players running on the pitch, all the stuff happening in the stand, straight after Moyes, there was a thing about the West Ham players going on holiday. West Ham fans saying that's ridiculous. They're going to go have a holiday. We came back. We're better. Kind of history stuff, right? But at that point, the fans were so against everything, and that was seen as a luxury and them taking the piss because you've played terrible, and now you're going to go and have a little holiday and a jolly. Right now, it worked for the team in that respect. But also at that time, Moyes turned around and went, yeah, we're going, fuck them. That's what they want. Even more, like Noble even said, oh, he had some bollocks, because when we said about us going, he goes, yeah, we're going. He goes, I don't care. We're going. Don't give a shit. But that is his mentality.
Yeah.
It's all a facade that he gives a shit about. He cares when fans sing his name. The moment the fans ain't singing his name, look how much of his little snidey remarks come out.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, had he actually stood up and said once or twice, you know what, I need to do better, fans, and I'll include myself in that, would have gone, that takes a lot to do that. Fair play, mate. You've actually stood there and taken it on the chin and said, no, I need to take responsibility. Yeah. Deflecting away from his players, protecting his players. And when his players are criticised, coming and go, that's my fault. I picked him. I played him. He's out of form. I haven't used him right. That's on me. Rather than saying we're getting to know him. What do you mean you're getting to know him? Well, you scouted that player, or you've had this player for 4 years. Then saying that, I can't. The players that we've had, trying to keep them at the same level, it hasn't happened. Well, we've played Fornals how many minutes this season compared to last season? How much you played Lanzini? You use them sparingly. You discard them for half a season and you pull them in for 1 or 2 games and then you discard them again. And then you're going, it's really hard for me to keep players at the same level. Yeah, because they're seeing the likes of Souček. And I know we keep picking at him, but it's a fair comparison. It's a fair point.
Yeah.
You see players like Souček who are constantly playing whilst being shit. Antonio has finally sorted himself out this season and started to play in recent games. Still can't hit a barn door, but he's at least now starting to run around and play.
Well, he done well yesterday before he came off.
There's no responsibility. A player plays bad, they play the next game. Now, granted, I would still play Aged because I think Aged and Zuma are starting to form a partnership, and part of what happened yesterday isn't fully on Aged. But I wouldn't play Fabianski. For the first goal, I don't think he did enough. The third and fourth goal, I think he's very culpable, especially the fourth one, obviously. And it's just like, we just need completely fresh. And it's even say it was completely fresh, but it's not really fresh. We're going to bring in Soufal. You're not going to change Emerson and bring in Crespo, I don't think, at this stage.
Yeah.
Midfield, that's the only real place you can freshen it up, and that's by bringing in Lanzini or Fornals.
Yeah.
Maybe even on the wings, maybe just turning around to Ben Rama and saying, whilst Ben Rama's been one of our better players for most of the season, even saying, I need to try something different. I need Cornet to come in.
Yep.
Or even freaking hell, even saying to Ben Rama, I'm going to play you through the middle. You're going to play off the striker. I'm going to play you there. I'm going to put Cornet out wide. I need pace. I want you in the middle. I want you playing off the striker. Bowen, if Bowen comes inside, you go out to that right wing. That's what I want. But there's nothing. There's no invention. There's not even going for, like a 4-2-2 formation and trying Ings up front with Antonio, putting Cornet or Bowen, Ben Rama on one wing, Bowen on the other, and then just saying to Paqueta and Rice, you two are going to have to just run your bollocks off, lads, because I'm just going to play you two as a 2.
Yeah.
There's none of that.
Well, we said at the beginning of this week before the Southampton game, these next 3 games are crucial. We said realistically 6 points or 7 points would be a good return from those fixtures, because I think most people expected to lose to Newcastle, but nowhere near in the manner or the approach we did yesterday. If we're still trying to look a little bit more positive on this situation, which is very difficult right now. We did get 3 points against Southampton. We've lost a game that on paper, most people probably expected us to lose. If we go into that Fulham game and get 3 points, can we still approach it in the same way with the Moyes situation? Because it's really difficult, because all that matters right now is the points. And I think everyone knows 99% certain that Moyes is gone in the summer, regardless of what happens this season, because there's been at no point has there been a bigger gathering of the fans about Moyes, because at the beginning of the season, it was very much 50-50. I remember in November, there was very much a 50-50 split as to whether people wanted to get rid of Moyes or keep him. And I kind of understood it then, because he built up that credit in the bank from last season. We were still adjusting. We're still adjusting to these new players, new systems. So people gave him the benefit of the doubt. But now we're in April with pretty much a fully fit squad, other than Scamacca. That's it. There's no more excuses. So going into that Fulham game, Mike, what do we have to do differently, and what do we have to change going into that game to try and get something out of that game? Because a draw's not good enough now. He has to win it.
We can't go there to set up for a draw. As simple as that. If we go there to set up not to lose, we're likely to lose. So if we were talking about what we need to do differently, we need to actually go and attack a game. It can't just be now waiting. Now, Moyes might go, my job's on the line. I don't want to lose, so I'll set us up not to lose.
Yeah.
Okay? But in actual fact, that doesn't help us. Now, if we get the win against Fulham, that does take a bit of a monkey off the back of the players, because all of a sudden that's the first win since week 4. Yeah, that's right. Week 4 was the last time we won a Premier League game. 4 games into the Premier League season. It's the last time
away,
an away win. Now, if we can pick up the win against Fulham, which at this point in time looks incredibly unlikely based on what we saw yesterday, which was insipid half the time. It may convince them in the running that we have, and we do have some favourable games. Granted, they're away, but it might then convince them that, well, we might be able to pick up another win.
Yeah.
So if we win one game away from home, such as, say, the Fulham one, it might give them that confidence to then go, we actually can win away. So we can do that. Removes that little mental block because they know they've not won since then.
I just don't think that mental block's going to go with Moise there. I just don't see how we should.
But this is what, as I said before, that as fans in some ways, and I said it, I think a few weeks back, we have to ignore the fact that Moise is even here and now because it ain't going to change till the end of the season. There's no point even talking about him, no point concentrating on it. I know we've wasted a lot of time talking about him, but in some ways it's an irrelevant conversation.
Do you think there's truth to this? Do you think Moyes knows he's going, so he doesn't? Yeah. He's losing interest a bit.
I don't think he gives two shits. He doesn't give two shits about the fans. He's rubbed up a lot of players the wrong way, and it's come from various sources that players are beyond frustrated with him, and people in his own staff are incredibly frustrated with him to the point of not working. Apparently, him and Warburton can't sit on the same bench or can't sit next to each other on the bench. It's that high of tension.
Really?
So it's just like, until that, if you're not going to remove that toxic element, in a way, you have to set it aside and actually just essentially operate as if it's not there.
Yeah.
And as fans, we kind of have to do that in a way because he's not going to the end of the season unless we get absolutely royally smashed by Fulham. Even then, I don't even think. Even then, I still think they'll go. But we got Ghent on Wednesday, or sorry, Thursday. Yep. It's always an excuse to prolong it. But you kind of have to set that aside because the most important thing is points. Now, I think 3 wins between now and the end of the season will be enough to secure West Ham. Or 9 points essentially should be enough to secure top team as a Premier League football next season.
It should, but we have to beat Bournemouth as one of those.
We do. Now, I think if we get 3 wins, one of those obviously being Bournemouth, I think that does keep us up in the Premier League.
It should do. Yeah, it should do.
Now, when I look at it, and I said it, and I kind of have that idea, and I know it wasn't agreed with. He was one of the ones saying that you can't do that. You can't do that to a manager. But I think we're at such a toxic state where people are now starting to go, their players should. Players should take that responsibility like it's happened in every club. It's happened. And it's happened at West Ham before. During the Great Escape, those players outright said that they pretty much did that themselves.
Yeah.
They made their own tactics on the day. They made their own tactics. They had their own meetings. Kirbishley got all the praise, but they did a lot of that themselves and motivated themselves out of it and come to a way in which to find a way in which they were all happy that they wanted to play and could play. Our players need to do that.
Yeah.
We're not going to get the board are not going to get rid of Moyes by not listening to us. And they're not going to listen to the players. The only way it's going to happen is a coup, right? So they have to go to the coaching staff and the coaching staff that potentially isn't loyal to Moyes and say, we're staying behind after this session. We want to work on some things. What do you think we should be doing in the match that we haven't worked on this week? What do you want us to do? Because we trust you to give us something and give us an edge. And we're willing to stay and work with it. Players need to do that. Some of the coaches need to also be a bit like, you know what, look, lads, we need to work on something else. Come with me. We're going to work on something extra. And to be honest, slightly start and ignore Moyes. Because if the players are so frustrated that they can't go out and play, and apparently that's been happening, players at halftime have been remonstrating quite voicelessly that they are not being allowed to play and they want to go out and play, then do it. Come to an agreement as a collective. Start taking that responsibility and start saying we're going to do it. Only thing Moyes can do is drop you. And he isn't going to drop the likes of Paqueta. He's not going to drop the likes of Rice. He may make a couple of subs in a game if he thinks those players are not doing it. But if all the collective are in agreement, no matter who he brings on, they're going to turn around and go, yeah, all right, Moyes, get on the pitch, speak to the lads and go, right, what are we doing now? What's our plan? And they're going to play to that plan. He will take praise if we start winning. He'll be pissed at behind the scenes, but he'll take the praise because he will like to be seen as the mastermind. But the truth is, someone somewhere has to take responsibility, because if the board ain't going to do it and Moyes isn't going to change, someone in the club, and I mean at a playing level, whether that be staff, whether that be players, need to stand up and take the responsibility of saying, it's not working with him. We need to do our own thing now. We need to start doing something that we think is going to work. And whether that means them staying extra to make it go that way, it's what they need to. Personally, I feel that's what I would do if I was a player. I would be so determined to get out of this.
Yeah.
I'd be so embarrassed about what happened at Newcastle. I would be turning around to the staff and saying, look, what haven't we worked on this week that you think we should be working on? I'm gonna get the lads together, and we're gonna work on something. We're gonna work on it.
Yeah,
we need to do more. We need to give more to get out of this situation.
The problem now as well is we've been saying for how long now that these certain games coming up are must-win games. It's now getting to a point where pretty much every game is going to become a must-win game, regardless of who we're playing. So we're getting very close, and that very fine line of treading water, because we're only out of the relegation zone on goal difference. Like, granted, it is against Bournemouth and Forest. I think they have really significant worse goal difference than us. So it's almost like having that extra point, but it's still not good enough. Like you mentioned, we do need at least 3 wins, and one needs to be Bournemouth. But yeah, it's hard to keep it positive. I'm sure next time we do a review on the Fulham game, hopefully we'll be able to break down some good tactical stuff.
It will be analytical, at least that one, because I'm not going to be focusing on West Ham. I'm going to be focusing on a football club.
Yeah, exactly. So tomorrow we'll have our preview for the Fulham game, so make sure to tune into that. And also, just a quick note, we are very close to 500 subscribers, so please do subscribe if you are watching right now and you haven't already. It takes 2 seconds just to click the button, and yeah, we're very close and we're trying to get it. So that would be one positive, other than this absolute hammering that we got yesterday.
Another positive is, let's just go back to what we talked about at the start of the thing. The youth team won 6-1 tonight. Mubama got himself a hat trick. No surprise, the guy can't stop scoring. I think it's his 26th goal at all levels for West Ham this season. Wow. They're into the final at the Emirates. The young lads only need a draw, funny enough, against Arsenal, the league, the cup finalists they're playing, to win their league. So I want to end on something positive, and we have some really good youth prospects coming through. They're about to win a cup final. Potentially winning a cup final. They are on the verge of winning the South Division trophy. And, there's some good lads in that team that could potentially come through, and they deserve our support. So, when those tickets for the final come, we should try to get there as fans and be there to support them. Obviously, it's going to be at the Emirates. It's going to be a bit of a home game for the Arsenal players. But as a group of fans, it's something positive that we should be jumping on. And if we get the chance, we should go as fans in force to support the lads, to cheer them on to potentially having a win. And last time we saw a West Ham team win at a youth level, we got some pretty good players out of it, such as Joe Cole and Michael Carrick. So if we can, if these lads win, it's a great springboard. Hopefully 2 or 3 of them will come through that team, and we can start to see them. So, let's end on that positive note. It's something positive.
Yeah, I think the last time they got to this stage of the youth competition was 99, the year Rice was born.
I think it was actually 2003. I think they said was.
Was it?
Was it Noble?
It would have been, I don't know. Yeah, so it wasn't too long ago. Wasn't too long. It was 20 years ago.
Quite a way ago. Yeah,
quite a long way ago, Frank. This has been nice to talk about. Well, not nice, but it's nice to just get it off your chest. We'll come with our fresh ideas tomorrow against Fulham, how we can try and exploit and get the better of them. But realistically, whatever we say, it's not going to happen. We know what's going to come, and I think we can expect. We'll break down Fulham more than West Ham, so you guys understand how we're going to concede our first goal on Saturday, and we'll do a little prediction of how we're going to concede. I think that might be more fun to play at the moment, but Yeah, thank you all for tuning in to the stream. Really appreciate all your support at the moment on the channel. We are publishing daily, so again, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a like on this video, as that also helps a lot. And yeah, if you ever want to come onto the channel, let us know. Drop us a DM on Twitter at Babbling Irons, and we will get you on the channel, no problem at all. And you guys can have a voice as well, because we like interacting with the comments on these live streams. So yeah, make sure to check out our Twitter if you haven't already. Subscribe, leave a like, and Mike, until next time.
Yeah. Come on, you irons.